Hey, good morning. This is Wanda Vitale, and I am the founder of the Empowered Empaths. I have a public group here on Facebook called the Empowered Empaths, and I have a private secret group on Facebook called Ditch the Doubt and Dance with Creation. And you can request to join either one. They have just two slightly different focuses. I want to talk about trauma. I understand, look, I really understand the nature of trauma. I am an empath. I remember in my, probably in my 20s, when it felt like everything, everywhere, all at once. I grew up in a family that didn't do emotions. And, I just felt like I was being burned alive, like that frog in the boiling water. So I get it. I am an empath. I do, like many of you, feel everything across the globe. And like most of us who are empaths, we front-loaded trauma. So my version of trauma was neglect. Some of you have been sexually abused. Some of you have been abused in every other way. Neglect is abuse as well. But I want to talk about trauma. It is not a life sentence. And here, I just see this all the time, that if you have trauma, it affects us our entire life. And I'm here to tell you that that is just absolutely not true, because who you are is more than the trauma. Who you are is source. Who you are is the awareness behind the trauma. You are the one who experienced the trauma, but you're the one who experiences joy. You're the one who experiences everything. You're the one who's aware of it all. So here's what I want to tell you. We only experience our beliefs. All the spiritual greats have always said this. And it's a matter of really walking our talk to say, wait a minute, what do I believe? What am I creating? And do I want that? Do I really want to experience this? So here's the deal with trauma. It's an experience. It's not a life sentence. If we would have grown up in a different culture, especially here in the West, if we would have grown up in a culture that's more shamanic in nature, we would have realized that the elders would have told us that the trauma is an initiation into greater wisdom. Because I'm here to tell you, at my age, that every horrible thing that I've been through, and I've been through some pretty horrible stuff, turns into wisdom, which is why I do what I do. I'm here to talk about how to create a life you absolutely love. So with the trauma, if somebody would have said, okay, you are not the trauma, you are the one who's aware of the trauma, and later in your life, what you have gone through will turn into wisdom that can help someone else. It's why I do what I do. So we have a whole community in the empath community that's focused on you are your trauma, you are your trauma. No, you're not. You are, who are you really? I am that. You are source having a physical experience. Source is up here. I have a picture on PowerPoint when I work with clients and groups, but who you are above it all, your true identity is source. And you're having this horizontal experience that you call your life, that we call our life, but it's just a lot of different experiences so that we can choose what would be better. In the absence of love, we know what love is. We wouldn't know what love is if we didn't experience the lack of it. We wouldn't know what joy is until we experience the lack of it. So who we are is this big, we're like a flashlight with our thoughts, our perceptions, the stories we tell, our assumptions. We're operating from an identity, and that identity looks out at reality like a flashlight and sees those beliefs and thoughts and assumptions. Otherwise, it would be like everything everywhere all at once. You're more space than matter. So we only perceive a tiny, tiny bit of everything that's out there. And again, I talk about this in my groups. There's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And it's the same thing, that if you decide you're going to see red cars, that suddenly you see red cars everywhere. You had no idea that so many red cars existed. Well, the reticular activating system does the same thing with your beliefs, your thoughts, your assumptions. It filters out everything else. And the only thing that you perceive in that light, that you light up in that chunk of consciousness or potentials that you light up with your attention, you only see that little tiny slice, but everything already exists. So in terms of trauma, we do things like I do things with people that I work with. I do regression to go back, and we look at those memories of that the mind stores of traumatic situations that set in motion the beliefs and assumptions that we have. Things like, I'm not good enough. I can't do anything right. Money is bad. Things like that. So we go back in regression and we change our relationship with it. Instead of acting as the child who is terrified and afraid and traumatized, we go back and become the kind adult, the kind compassionate adult that none of us ever had. If you have trauma, you didn't have that. So we go back and we become that person, that adult who keeps that inner child safe. So when we talk about how trauma, if you believe that trauma impacts you your entire life, then what you're saying is, I'm doomed to be that terrified 2-year-old for the rest of my life. But it doesn't have to be that way unless you choose it. We can be anybody we want to be. We operate from different identities that we create. So one of those would be that wise, compassionate adult who always keeps his or her child absolutely safe. And so then when we get triggered, instead of that terrified 2-year-old responding, the kind, compassionate adult says, I got this, you're safe. So we create a completely different relationship with our past, so that the trauma, we don't have to do therapy forever. We have to realize who we really are. We're more than that wise adult. Who we are is source. I and the Father are one, and the Father is greater. What that means is the first, at our core, we're part of source. I and the Father are one, and the Father is greater. The Father is everything. At our core, that's divine mind that we're connected to. Everybody's part of divine mind. The next individuation, that first individuation of all that is, or infinity, is I am. I am that. I am that wise, compassionate adult. I am an abundant business owner. I am whatever you decide that you're going to be. And then we create attributes of that identity and we live from it. Your past is not a sentence. Your past has absolutely nothing to do with who you are now, and has absolutely nothing to do with your future unless you make it so. Because most people believe they are linear. We're not linear. There's not a past and a present and a future, like the river only goes one way. We're the ocean. We're all of it. We are, I am, that awareness. I am sitting in the center of potential, of all potential, sitting in the center of infinity, choosing our experience, choosing the identity that we live from. It looks like reality is this one solid timeline, but it isn't. Reality is just a bunch of little frozen frames moving so quickly that we don't realize that in every moment we are speeding through potentials faster than the speed of light, maybe at the speed of light, I don't know. But it's a bunch of little freeze frames that we link together and to create continuity, kind of like the way they used to make cartoons, right? One frame at a time, and then they speeded it up and it looked like it was moving. Our lives are no different. So trauma is not a life sentence. It's only a life sentence if you're choosing it, if you're deciding it is. You can choose anything when you create a different relationship to the past, because everything is now. Everything is now. All creation is done. It's all done. Everything exists. Different variations of you exist in multiple dimensions. This is quantum physics. The spiritual greats have been teaching this for a very long time. And it's time for more and more people to live this way. You're not linear, you're multidimensional. When you make peace with the past, you make a different present available. And since there is no time, you create different potentials for your future. So how do we unlink the past? Like, oh, I'm broken, I'm not loved, I need to be healed. How do we break away from that link with this identity that you're not? Again, you are not your terrified 2-year-old or your frozen in time 5-year-old. You're the adult. So first of all, we change our story. I know the Bible is a metaphysical text, not as a religious text. So understand that. Jesus said in the Bible, who would you say I am? I think that's in Matthew. Who would you say that I am? What does that mean? Where are you pointing your awareness? Where are you shining your attention, your focus in all of these frames of potentials that exist simultaneously? Well, change your story. I am whole. I am joyful. I am abundant. I am chosen. I am loved. And I am love. Love is our true nature. There is, this is really what the I am message is. It's that we are, at our core, we are this very high vibration of unconditional love. We've clouded it over with different beliefs. So start to tell a different story. Unless you always want to be the broken one or the one who's somehow deficient, because you're not. Your source. You are all that is. You are all that is. So start to tell a different story. It also says in the Bible, before there was Abraham, there was I am, which means before there was form, before there was substance, the only thing that existed is I am. I am. You are pure source energy, all of it, not just some of it, all of it. And in every moment, you can be any of it that you choose. So you're not stuck. I'm just really big on this because my work is with empaths, and I am one. And I used to think I was broken, and I used to think I was separate, and I used to live in fear. And when you realize that you're making it all up with your stories, your focus, and your attention, and when you experience that 3D conditions change as you do that, you can't be afraid anymore because you understand I am walking, talking reality right here. There is no one reality. Each of us are making it up with our assumptions, beliefs, right? And the stories we tell. So please don't think that because you have trauma, that it affects you forever. That is a flat out untruth, because who you are, you're all that is, sitting in the center of infinity and choosing experiences to know yourself as source. That's why we're here. We're here to, as Abraham always said, we're here to enjoy the contrast. It's like the buffet, to say, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. Yes, I'll have that. We're here to know ourselves as source. We're here to experience ourselves as source, to experience ourselves in this 3D world. And that's not just some philosophical mumbo jumbo. That is, you can experience anything in your life: money, relationships, joy, travel around the world, amazing relationships, success in your business. We're making it all up. It's real out there. There is no out there. Not really. Out there is the mirror that's showing you what stories you're telling about yourself, so that you can look at them and go, I think I need to tell a different story. So please, I would encourage you to tell a different story around trauma. Don't put a chain around your ankle when there is none. There's, as Rumi said, the cage doors are open. There's no cage. We can be, do, or experience anything. And my life is an example of that. After a diagnosis of you'll probably never walk normally again, if you can walk, I'm fine. I'm fine with metal in my leg. I do hikes here in the mountains every week. Nothing is beyond your ability to revise it. Nothing is beyond your ability to change. So I would invite you to look at what stories you're telling yourself around trauma, and to look at it like that you're the actor in a play that you're creating. And that's really all it is. We can be, do, or have experience absolutely anything in our very practical lives. So what story are you telling yourself about trauma? And start to tell yourself a different story. I think trauma gives us, as empaths, as an empowered empath, it gives us great compassion. And it has made us go deeper, just like it's made me go deeper into who am I really? I'm not a separate blob of flesh. I exist. I'm eternal. I'm the chooser. I can put my awareness anywhere. So whatever you've experienced in your life in terms of trauma, you can certainly help people with. But please don't tell anybody that they're sentenced to a life of, well, it's always going to affect you, because it doesn't affect me, because I've chosen to be somebody else. I decided that mask that I wore as a kid who was traumatized, or a younger person, when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I decided that I'd had enough of that mask, and I'd had enough of that being that actor in that play. Because whatever identity we decide that we choose, there's a whole bunch of scripts that go along with that, right? That as a traumatized, with my trauma and my neglect, part of my script was, I'm not chosen, I'm not lovable, nothing really ever works out for me, I never really get what I want. Every identity, like an actor in a play, has a different script. And that script is a blueprint that we each live into. And that's what our life is. So if you don't like your life, look at What actor are you playing? And choose again with your awareness, because that is when the magic really starts, when life becomes so much fun, when you just know that all you're ever doing, you're not even creating, you're choosing experiences. You're choosing a reality. You're choosing to live as an identity that has a completely different set of scripts. It's in a different play. The supporting actors and actresses are different. You're free, friends. You're free. So don't let anybody try to tell you that you've got a ball and chain around your ankles and that you're here to suffer, because that is not true. Certainly it's not true in my life, not true with my coaching clients. They are experiencing amazing shifts in their lives, fast, easy, things that other people would say, how'd you do that? Oh my God, how did you do that? Because I want to tell you that you're everything, you're infinite, you're source. And you get to be, because we have free will, you get to be, do, or have anything that you choose. So thank you for listening. And if you don't like your life or the scripts or the actors, you're the creator of your own play. You're the creator of the actors and actresses, and you're the creator of yourself as the lead. So choose to be somebody else who looks at life differently. Choose to look at your trauma as the wise, compassionate adult, instead of endlessly being that triggered 2-year-old, because you're not 2 anymore. You're not 2 anymore. And if you want some help, I'm offering right now a couple of things. I have a 3-month coaching program for people that are serious really about changing their lives. And I also have a couple of spots open for a monthly coaching program. If you've studied this, if you're and need some help, let's talk. I'll put my link, my email in the first comment. And I've got a couple of other things. I'm coming out with another email program called I Am Rich. We just finished this. I had, I think, about 17 people in there who experienced a real change in abundance, more money, more realizing that out there, or your job or anything else, isn't the source of abundance. It's you. We're creators. So I'll put, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for listening.